Yeah. We're ranking the top 32 players in the Browns organization in terms of...
Not just players.
Yeah, positions, in terms of just importance, critical importance. We're at number 24, who... I don't know who ranked these, but...
These lunatics back here.
Okay.
It was the behind the glass
So we get to make fun of them.
Yes.
DPJ, according to you guys, is 24th.
He need to be about 12 and a half, 13 spots higher.
I think the last...
Higher?
Like
Yes.
top 10 DPJ?
Oh, goodness. I'm saying 24 is too high.
I agree with you.
Listen, I look at DPJ as if he does not play well this year.
No, not what we need him to be.
Oh.
What he's been, right?
I don't know how they're looking.
What was your criteria, guys?
So,
On previous production or
What
we need them to
I'll
be
be totally honest. I piggybacked off Mike's list and readjusted it the way I thought about it. So Earl can speak to his list. Mike can't speak to his because he's stuck in Germany.
But the list is based on who's most important to the team, right?
Yeah.
I think the guys the last 3 days are all more important than DPJ.
I don't.
The last 3 days have been Ethan Pocic, Cade York, and who? Ooh. Oh, not Taki. He's not more important. But I think Pocic...
This is an averaging of all three of our
I hear
lists.
you. But I think Pocic and Cade York are more important than DPJ.
I would agree with that.
No, well, if you look at it's 22 people that start, right?
Yeah.
And
well, but there's coaches.
But y'all got coaches in here too?
Yeah.
We do have coaches in here.
In my mind, even though he was better last year, DPJ is going to be their third receiver. That's how I'm thinking of him, that they're phasing him out, and they're phasing Elijah Moore and Tillman in.
I thought that's the same thing, but then it looks like, what's the name? Deshaun Watson likes him. Plus the fact that you got Marquise Goodwin, we don't know if he's coming back. You look at what Bell and Schwartz have given you, which is tremendously nothing so far. And you look at the fact, okay, Mari Cooper, I'm not going to say he's going to be out or anything, but he hasn't been practicing all that much. So what happens when all that happens? You get Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is in a contract year, taking all those reps. And he is taking all those reps with his life on the line. So you look at it and say, okay, we got Elijah Moore. They want to feed Elijah Moore a lot. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is looking at it like, look, this is feast season. I had 839. If I can just get to 1,000. But
the Browns don't care about that.
Well, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
But I think that he has a good enough connection with Deshaun Watson because a lot of those guys aren't practicing. So it gets to a point where it's like, okay, DPJ is not great at anything, but they need a receiver. They're looking for somebody to fill a role, and he's practicing more than the rest of those guys. And I know how it used to be when you get injuries and they keep you out for non-practice. What happens is you start to develop a little rapport, and the coach is like, well, he's dependable. Who do you want on this route? X
what
I
would say to that, G, is Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman, they haven't been hurt.
No.
Those guys have been out there. And Amari Cooper is such an established wide receiver that I still think no matter how much time
he's
he misses,
the one.
He's going to be the guy.
Unless somebody emerges, if Tillman by week 5 is averaging 8 catches a game and he's just tearing it's possible.
It'd be beautiful.
We don't know. There have been a lot of wide receivers have come from, I don't want to say nowhere, but come from where Cedric Tillman has come from.
Yeah.
Right. Where
and we haven't seen that here, but
we
I'd
haven't
like
seen
to.
it here. I would love to see it here. It's about time we see
it
here. Because when you have back-to-back third-round draft choices like the Browns have had at this position, Anthony Schwartz it's going to go down as one of the all-time bad ones for them. I think his time here is done.
They've had so many bad first-round picks.
Well, they have, but I'm talking third-round picks.
Yeah, it's
that's a high pick.
Yeah.
There is a measure of expectations that go along with that.
Third-round pick should be a starter.
Should be a starter. Should be a big contributor.
Yes.
And they're not.
And DPJ, for me, is the fact that DPJ, he's not great at anything, but I can't look at his game and say he's bad at that.
No, but I look at, and we don't know, and you're right, he may end up being the number 2 receiver. And maybe he is at the beginning of the season.
Who you think is number 2 right now? You would say Elijah
It might
Moore?
be him, but I think they're hoping it's Elijah Moore. I guess from my perspective is I see way more upside with Moore and Tillman than I do with DPJ. I think DPJ is what he is. I don't think he's any better than this, and he's fine. Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's just a solid wide receiver. Whereas I see a lot more upside. Tillman obviously is a rookie, but Elijah Moore, he was drafted 35th or 36, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Very high second-round pick for a reason. I mean, because he's a really talented guy who hasn't found his footing yet, and now's an opportunity.
Do you think Elijah Moore's the second? He's the number 2 receiver.
I think right now the crown that wears the head, right, and that's DPJ. Yeah. But I think every expectation for the Browns is for Elijah Moore to be that guy.
Yeah,
and eventually for Cedric Tillman to be that guy.
Sure.
So I mean, if I'm putting arrows next to names, I've got arrows up for Tillman and for Moore, and probably an arrow down or a hash.
Yeah.
For DPJ, just because I think last year he was the beneficiary of a wide receiving core that was absolutely abysmal.
Yes.
Abysmal. And we knew that when they broke camp.
Right.
Somebody's got to catch these balls.
Right.
DPJ was that guy. The whole idea in the offseason is to upgrade your weakness, which they did at the defensive line.
Yeah.
The other weakness was wide receiver. They went out and did what they thought were upgrades.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bode well for DPJ, who is a placeholder in a year where they just had no wide receivers.
Right, and they're not going to sign him to any kind of extension. I
can't imagine they do, not unless he puts up 1,200 yards.
And, I mean, there's a chance, because he's getting old, that I think the Browns hope.
DPJ?
No. Amari Cooper.
Okay.
That in 2024, that Elijah Moore and Tillman are their top 2 receivers.
I think they would love for that.
That's their dream scenario.
You know what? Somebody told me once an offensive coordinator was a great analogy. He said, this is the way the game is played at the skill position in the NFL. Each guy is a lottery ticket. And the more lottery tickets you have, the better chance you have at hitting a jackpot. Mm-hmm. And so Tillman's a lottery ticket to be scratched off. Mm-hmm. We'll find out. Elijah Moore is a lottery ticket. All of these guys are tickets. Mm-hmm. Now, in the case of some, like Anthony Schwartz, we've scratched off every single square and we've won nothing. Right. In fact, we owe the lottery commission money.
Yes, we do.
There's one square to be scratched for him. Maybe it was scratched last night and they finally made their decision to publicly admit their failure and punt. Maybe they'll give him another chance. I don't know. Because he's a draft pick, he's going to get every advantage in the world.
$2 get another ticket.
Maybe he'll just get another ticket.
Yeah.
So we'll trade him in, we'll release him, and we'll pick up another ticket.
You guys, I'm proud of you. This is a really good analogy. This is a home run on your part. And the $2 version where you get that
free ticket. It's not a win, but it's not a loss.
Yeah, if he goes out and runs a punt back, like they'll give him a $2 scratch off, and we'll give him some more chances.
But right now it feels like we owe the lottery commission a lot of money.
Yes.
On that particular lottery ticket.
Like that.
We'll figure it out, I hope. But I do think you're right. I think the long-term plan here is because Cooper's getting towards the back end of his career, if he's not already in it, you're constantly thinking about the present and the future. And you really can't pay much interest to the past.
No, and Amari Cooper's going to be due a lot of money, and he's getting into his 30s. Once wide receiver gets into the 30s, you got to start thinking about the next guy.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And they've done that. And I think they've got a lot of young guys that look pretty good in Tillman and Moore.
Yeah.
But these most recent third-round picks that they had, we've seen.
Hopefully Tillman ends that bad streak.